Hey there, friends and foes. Happy New Comic Day. It is Wednesday, and this is Wednesday Night Bites. We've got me, Dee Bartee, and Crayle Vanest in the virtual rec room to talk about Peacemaker versus Hawkeye and maybe some new comics. Yum! And we're going to do that right after this.
It's like Coca-Cola, Levi Strauss, Johnny Carson and Mickey Mouse. The first star was James Dean, Elvis Presley, and he's still the king. Some things are only imitatable. You can't beat an original. Oh, you can't beat an original.
And of course, Dee Bartee stops, but we're all dancing in the back room. It is the co-hostess with the mostest, the incomparable Dee Bartee. And of course, from Phoenix Sisters Cosplay, it is Crayle Vanest. How you ladies doing tonight?
Oh, good. Good.
Look at Crayle wearing her Pokemon pajamas. What a way to lean into the theme, Crayle Vanest. I love it.
And look,
Dee
I have
Bartee
clothes on.
What? Wait, what?
I said, I
Dee
have clothes
Bartee,
on.
which is maybe a good thing since we're going to be talking about a show that has a lot of clothes coming off. But you were singing something earlier with Crayle. What was that?
I want to be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them all is my real test. To train them is my cause. I could go on, but that's not what the show is about today.
Well, so let me tell our audience what this is. This is something brand new that we're going to start doing because Saturday mornings, we don't have enough time to cover everything that Johnny wants to talk about. So I'm going to start doing Wednesday Night Bites. And lo and behold, Dee Bartee is awake at 9 Central and is in a really good mood.
And not as cranky as I am.
And not as cranky.
Saturday
And
morning.
maybe we can even get Dee to eat some cereal from the Crunch Cup, or maybe just dry like I am tonight. So there's nothing in the bowl, but dry cereal is a good snack.
I mean, I didn't bring my cereal, but I can go get some.
It's right behind you.
That's all empty.
Well, so Dee Bartee texts me 2 weeks ago, Crayle, and she says, "Have you seen Hawkeye?" I'm like, "What? Have I what? Have I seen Hawkeye?" And this is after the series finale. And I'm like, "Dee, who do you think I am? Of course I've seen it." And she goes, "Well, I just started watching it and I love it." And we had not done a Hawkeye recap and review episode like we did with all of the other MCU shows, like we did with Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. So I thought, well, what a great way to launch Wednesday Night Bites. And Dee Bartee is actually excited and into something. And then she said, oh, have you been watching Peacemaker?
Very different show.
And I had not, because I don't have HBO Max. Well, I do now, but so
I let him borrow mine.
the views and opinions expressed by Dee Bartee do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of our host or our sponsors. So I started watching Peacemaker.
That's not cool.
And
Why you gotta say that about me? You don't even know my opinion. I just asked you if you watched it.
I'm not talking about that.
What
I'm
are
talking
you
about
talking
the other side comment about HBO Max, but we're not going to repeat that because we are on a recorded broadcast. But
It doesn't
before
matter.
we talk about Peacemaker and Hawkeye, I've got to do one thing. Today is Wednesday. It is New Comics Day in the US. So I need to share some new comics. Yum! And got a bunch of stuff today. Moon Knight #9 was great. Justice League 73 was awful. Moon Knight 9 was great. Avengers Forever was passable. That's issue #3. Adventure Man 8 was fantastic. But the issue that is the standout, the book that is the standout this week, Crayle, is Strange #1. Clea, the wife of Doctor Strange, has taken over as the Sorcerer Supreme after Doctor Strange has died. And first day on the job, Doctor Doom shows up to claim the mantle of Sorcerer Supreme for himself. And of course, Clea, being from the dark dimension, breaks red all over Doctor Doom. Listen, this chick is hardcore. I've known about Clea for years, but I never knew that she was as bad to the bone as she is. And here she is going all dark dimension Sorcerer Supreme again. Fun story, really great story. Written by Jed McKay. The art is by Marcelo Ferreira, who is the penciler. And the inker is Don Ho. And Strange #1. That's Johnny's pick of the week for new comics. Yum! Now, let's talk about this week's topic. And I am, of course, talking about Peacemaker versus Hawkeye. So I thought we'd talk about Peacemaker first. Peacemaker is the series on HBO Max, spinning out of The Suicide Squad, starring John Cena as Chris Smith, the Peacemaker. And the only picture I could find of any of the other cast members was this one, which is very frustrating that Warner Brothers and HBO Max have made it so hard to find promo images. But this is the backup team, including in the background there, Vigilante wielding a chainsaw. So, Dee Bartee, I will let you share your thoughts first. What did you think of Peacemaker?
Okay, so that is such a general question that I have like a hard time answering. Like, what do you think about it? Because I just want to be like, oh, it was okay. And like, that's it. So like, I have a hard time with that question. But it was weird. It was weird. Not what I was expecting. It was.
Why was it weird?
Because it was, well, first of all, John Cena. No, wasn't expecting him in a role like that. But it was more like.
Did you see the Suicide Squad movie?
I did, but I don't remember him in that.
Okay, so there was Suicide Squad first, and there was The Suicide Squad, which was like a sequel.
The second one. It was really violent. I don't remember John Cena in it.
Oh.
I know.
He was like
one
of the main characters. And how could you forget the toilet bowl on the head?
I guess I wasn't impressed. I don't know.
Aww, I love that.
If I wasn't impressed, I don't remember it. But I mean, it's a really dry sense of humor, and like it had funny moments, but it just wasn't for me. And it was a lot of language that I didn't care for a whole lot. So there's that. And the storyline was weird. Did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I watched it over the course of 3 days. Crayle, what did you think of Peacemaker?
I am glad.
Weird. It's weird.
I am glad that I gave it as much of a chance as I did. My husband and I have a 3-episode rule because pilots can be really rough. And I watched the first episode and I was like, this is not funny. Like, this was billed to me as a violent comedy, and I don't find this funny. And then by the second episode, after the cast had some time to mesh and they could like establish the type of humor everybody has, like, it was hilarious. I really like really extreme shows that have like contrasting themes. I'm an editor also, so I like to get kind of meta about like scripted content. And so the dry sense of humor that was very ridiculous up against the other really, really dark themes. Like, it's one thing for a comic book or a superhero movie to have an anti-hero who's like, yeah, I was trained to kill from the time I was a child. My dad messed me up. Like, that's a trope we've heard a bunch. But in Peacemaker, you see it happen on the screen when he's a little boy. And that's so different. Like, you don't normally see that part. It just gets referenced later. And so the fact that they were able to still make the show funny at all while having content and scenes like that are not just visually graphic, but like emotionally hard to sit through, I was really impressed with. So like,
so I didn't think this was a comedy at all. It was sold as a comedy. I thought it had funny moments because, you know, we're dealing with idiotic humans. Because let's face it, Chris Smith was a little bit of a bonehead. He was a little bit of an idiot. And Vigilante was a total moron. Skilled, great fighter.
And he was the one I thought was funny.
He was funny, but he was basically DC's version of Deadpool, right? That was the role
I like
he
Deadpool
was.
too, so.
Well, but I didn't think it was a comedy at all.
Yeah.
I thought it was a drama because the themes were so dark. The whole thing about, you know, the Peacemaker character growing up abused, at least verbally and emotionally, by his father, maybe physically, and being so damaged that he can't create relationships with anybody. In that final scene, Dee Bartee, where he's sitting at the trailer park by himself, that basically speaks to the entire character, that he is going to end up living his life alone with only the ghosts of his past, the memories of his tragic past. That was not funny. That was heartbreaking. And I thought Peacemaker's entire story arc was really heartbreaking. And I didn't find it to be a comedy at all. And Dee, you've known me long enough to know I do not like gratuitous vulgarity or sex. I don't mind it if it moves the story along, but I found myself cringing a lot at the language in the show and thinking to myself, this does not make this show better. And I was thinking to myself, I don't know anybody who uses this much vulgarity and who talks that way. Am I alone in that?
no. Oh my goodness. In the first episode, when the guy who you find out later is Vigilante gets caught talking to himself by one of the other waiters at his work, and the things that he says casually, like, it's one thing if the vulgarity is being used because the circumstances are extreme, but this is just, oh, I needed to cover for a slightly awkward moment where I was caught talking to myself, and the things that he says after that, like, I won't even repeat them. And that was in a casual moment of the show. It's not like somebody was attacking him and he's cussing at his attacker or something. Like, I was not comfortable with that, and I'm not bothered by vulgarity in and of itself. It's just the way that it was so.
Well, now you know why it's on HBO Max.
Well, and you know, situational vulgarity where it actually makes sense to the story, you know, I can deal with that. I can deal with the F-bomb being dropped, you know, in extreme circumstances or whatnot. But there they're throwing around, references to reproductive functions like it's just casual conversation at the dinner table. And that just, I don't know, that just didn't vibe well with me.
Same. I thought it was weird.
Now, we have some comments, okay? So we're going to go to some viewer comments. And so, first of all, Kelly says, Clea.
We know it's Kelly because I'm here.
Yes. Kelly, you should actually be on camera with us. You could join in if you'd like. And Drew Milden says about Peacemaker, it's amazing. And Ryan Permisson says, hey there, friends and foes. How are you? We're doing great. See, and Drew thinks that Peacemaker is hilarious. But Ryan is not a John Cena fan. He says, John Cena is a wrestler, not an actor to me. Now, here's the thing. I thought he did a phenomenal job of playing the tragic character that he was. I felt every bit of that from John Cena. Did you guys feel the weight of his character?
I don't know. It's John Cena. I couldn't really.
See, I forgot I was watching John Cena.
Yeah,
I did too. Like, I was surprised after the first couple episodes how the John Cena persona I know melted away a little. I mean, I think this was a good character for John Cena because it's over the top, and so is John Cena. So I think that helped some. But like after episode 2 or 3, I was able to feel Chris Smith's personality more than John Cena's. It took me a little while though. It took me a few episodes.
I think I was firmly sold by the second episode.
Yeah, I couldn't get past it. Not at all. Not even a little.
Interesting. Well, Ryan Permisson says, not a James Gunn fan, so no thank you. So here's the thing with James Gunn. James Gunn likes creating stories that are ridiculous and over the top ridiculous. Guardians of the Galaxy, the Suicide Squad, and this was no exception. Think about this. In the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie, the villain was a living planet. A living planet. In the Suicide Squad, the villain is a giant starfish that takes control of people's minds with baby starfish. That's ridiculous. Of course, longtime fans of the DC universe know that Starro is like a major threat in the DC universe. But when you see it on screen, you realize just how ridiculous it really is. And then in this, the threat are alien praying mantis butterflies and a giant alien cow that is being milked for basically honey for them to survive.
Looking at the cow was really gross.
So if you're not into the over the top ridiculousness of James Gunn, it could be a very hard show to get into. And he did carry over that ridiculousness with, the character of Vigilante being such a callous, casual killer. But I did love, who my favorite character was?
Who?
Eagly.
Yes.
I love that eagle. But I have a question for you guys and for the audience. The final fight at the barn when they're going in to, kill the cow. Where is Eagly? Every other scene when there's a fight, he's swooping in, pecking out eyes and knocking people over and, taking them out. In this one, he just flies off. What the heck?
Maybe he's embarrassed because he dropped the helmet in the wrong place. He's just like, well, I messed up.
Good luck.
That drove me nuts. That drove me crazy that Eagly didn't even show up to help out Peacemaker in the final scene. but he was there. The Eagle was walking along when the Justice League showed up. Spoiler alert.
Maybe he went to go get the Justice League.
Oh, you know what? Maybe that's true.
Headcanon accepted.
Yes. Because, did Amanda Waller know where to send the Justice League? Did her daughter tell her any coordinates? I don't know. I didn't see that on camera. So we're going to say Eagly flew up, found Superman floating around, and he led the Justice League to the barn, but got there too late. Dee, can you buy that?
Sure, yeah.
But see, therein, I had a real problem with the way they treated Aquaman in this show. They made Aquaman a joke again. I don't like that.
I don't like that either, but I was able to accept it on the basis that, like, these people are kind of jerks.
There was not one likable character, was there? Well, maybe John Economos, whatever, the bearded guy, dye-beard guy. He was kind of likable. Did you guys think? Yes? No?
I think by the end of it, he was kind of likable. He was kind of a squish to begin with. It was like, okay, you're cool working for all these shady people, but like when it's time to get your hands dirty, you like panic about it. And then he has sort of like an arc where he realizes he can't, like he needs to get in the thick of it. And that was likable.
Well, that whole scene when he was pretending to be one of the butterflies, and the cop is asking him those questions about, why did your host do that to his beard? And he had to be honest. That was, I felt that. I was like, he's one of us. The not you, Dee Bartee, because you've always been beautiful and popular, but
apparently I'm not beautiful and popular. I'm gonna go cry now.
Crayle Vanest, you have a shelf just of comic books and graphic novels. You are one of us. You are one of the geeks, and I know that you felt some of that growing up, right? And I just felt like he was the only likable character, but I don't know. Let's see. We have a few other comments here. Speaking of John Cena, my word, he is a comedy actor. I didn't think he said things that were funny. He did things that were funny, but his character was really tragic. And I really felt like this was a drama. Last time I saw Cena was in The Marine. Okay. And David McDonald says, Peacemaker was definitely a lot better than I expected. And it was better than I expected. I did find myself enjoying it for what it was, but I don't know. I had problems with it. So Andrew Milden says, catch Cena in blockers. Ryan is having an argument now with him. I'd rather watch Cena in 12 rounds or catch Cena in Vacation Friends as well.
Right. So that's the kind of acting I'm used to seeing him do. Or he plays the big dumb galoot in, I can't remember that movie. It had Amy. Anyway. So this was definitely new for me.
Well, see, and Drew says that I am alone in this when I'm talking about vulgarity and how I don't know people who use that level of casual vulgarity. Now, Kelly is commenting here that I haven't seen Peacemaker, so I can't comment on it. But I work in a construction office, and vulgar language is pretty common there, so it depends on the people. I think, though, Kelly, when you watch this, I think you're going to see what I mean. I understand people using coarse language. I work for a guy who is a CEO that, he's got a.
Yeah, Kelly, this is a whole other.
Yeah, this was a
A
whole
whole
nother
new
level.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not offended by the F word even in casual conversation in my social circles, but the way it wasn't just the words they used, it was the combination, like the sentences they put together with the added vulgar language. Like some of their conversations were just gross, but like casually gross.
And I just don't know any, even in the workplace that they were in, I don't know that any workplace that would be acceptable. But anyway, Kelly has no makeup and is in PJs, not so cute PJs, laughing out loud. Well, we miss you, Kelly. We would love to have you anyway.
I think all of Kelly's PJs are cute PJs because Kelly's so cute.
This is the truth. This is the truth. Andrew says, Eagly gave him a hug. Do you believe in miracles? I loved both those moments. I love Eagly. I need an Eagly action figure.
Also, both of those moments were two of those narrative contrasts that I really love. The first time, he's the only person who recognizes how awesome it is. His dad is casually dismissive. He won't take a picture of it. He walks away. Adebayo sees it and thinks it's a sign. Like, it changes her life. Like, it helps her inform a decision that changes her life from that moment on, from when she sees Eagly hug Peacemaker. Right. And it's one of those narrative contrasts. That's like one of my favorite narrative tools is serious contrast.
Now, did anyone else find it and it was intentionally so, Peacemaker's father, the white dragon, did anyone find that so offensive that it was uncomfortable? That character was so offensive that it made, yes, we were supposed to hate him, but at the same time, I don't know. I felt so weird with some of the things that came out of that character's mouth. I can't imagine how the actor had to like get into that. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
He plays a lot of bad characters anyway, so But
yeah, but this guy was really bad.
Yeah. He's one that like normally you can kind of relate to a bad character. I feel like you kind of be like, oh, I kind of understand why you want to go around and be an axe murderer. Oh,
Yeah, there's none of that for the White Dragon character. Mm-mm. I mean, I was expecting him to get his. And so I was like, as far as a character that we're supposed to hate, like, I don't feel unable to like watch this show. Even in a villain, though, it was like the level of darkness this show went to was just,
yeah.
Like, again, for something that was billed to me as a comedy.
Yeah. David McDonald says, I still can't believe they didn't say holy cow at any point.
He was so mad about that. Like, the end of the episode, there's this sad, poignant moment, and he's like, they never said holy cow. And I'm like, oh, you're right. Missed opportunity.
Because that was a holy cow. It was like part of their religion almost. Now, Drew says this is one of the best DC live shows of all time, which isn't saying much, Drew, because
I disagree. Stargirl is one of the best DC live shows of all time.
So I have not watched season 2 of Stargirl yet.
I haven't seen season 2 yet. We're rewatching season 1 because I had a friend who needed to catch up. But
season 1 is maybe the best comic book to television adaptation of any story I've ever seen. And it was like reading an old school Jeff Johns, Mark Waid comic series. It was spectacular. Superman and Lois, season 1 was phenomenal. I'm in the middle of season 2. So, I enjoyed Superman and Lois more than I enjoyed Peacemaker. because that's the kind of story I want to see in a comic book hero. Dee, do you watch any of the other shows on CW?
I couldn't get into it. I tried. As much as I love Superman, I tried and I tried. I couldn't get into it.
I haven't watched Superman and Lois yet. I'm going to at some point. I
have it all recorded.
But-
I tried. I tried.
The Arrowverse is what got me into cosplay. So the CW shows are near and dear to me, even if I don't like the choices that they made for a lot of character arcs as the Arrowverse developed. But the first 2 seasons of Arrow introduced me to a lot of other really important parts of the geeky community, and I'll always be grateful for that.
David thinks you're beautiful, Crayle.
I got a story for you about that. You want to talk about like inner geek, right? Okay. So I started watching, this was like a year or so ago. I started watching This Is Us, right? And I'm watching it and I'm going, okay, the guy that plays Kevin, I know he is Green Arrow. I know it. Or just Arrow, whatever. So I like go look it up and I'm like, Arrow. And I'm like, that's not Arrow. I'm like, what the heck is happening? I know he's Arrow somewhere. Turns out he played Arrow on Smallville. So I recognized that he was Green Arrow from somewhere, and I was proud of myself.
Kelly's celebrity crush, Justin Hartley. Sorry,
and you know what? He was
Kelly.
A great Oliver Queen on Smallville.
Yes.
I thought he was so much better than Stephen Amell. No offense to the Stephen Amell fans, but I thought as Oliver Queen, Smallville's Green Arrow was better.
They gave him a better adaptation to work with, though. Like, that's not Stephen Amell's fault. Stephen Amell is super talented. He's a super nice guy also, which makes me like his work more. But the adaptation for Arrow was odd. They took a Batman feel to it way too much.
Yeah.
In most people's opinion.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
So Kelly says, yeah, Crayle and you have similar comfort levels, so I get it. I also hate language and sex violence being used in entertainment for shock value. And that's how I felt this was. It was just for shock value. Those things are better in small doses. And so when you finally watch it, Kelly, I think you'll understand what we're talking about. And Kelly says, using them all too much means they lose their dramatic effect. Exactly. And Drew says, I retract that statement and put Smallville as number 1. I am going to go right there with you. Smallville is the best DC television show. It launched the DCEU, and I love Smallville.
I love Smallville too.
Somebody save me. Yes. Well, last thoughts about Peacemaker.
I really love, I just completely forgot her name. The blonde woman. Harcourt. There we go. I really love that they show off her muscles, like especially in the opening dance scene, which was amazing, by the way. Super entertaining. We watched it every time. But like she's got that bicep line that I feel like a lot of Hollywood casting type people don't like to emphasize in women. And like, I don't know. I thought that was beautiful. I was like always looking at her arms. I was just really happy that they had a strong woman look strong. I mean, maybe I'm biased in this because I used to power lift.
That's not right.
I'm in terrible shape now.
How do you do that?
But the line right there, it only shows up when you tense or tighten it up, and I don't have mine anymore. Goals.
How do they do that? What is the pose?
For the one where it really shows in the theme song, her arms, when she does this, you can just see the line right there. It's beautiful. Next time, if you rewatch an episode, next time they do the dance, look at Harcourt's arms. They're beautiful.
I'm still like uncoordinated and clumsy.
See, I'm a leg guy, so I was admiring her legs. Even
She
in
has
the
really
black
nice
spandex, she
legs,
looked
too. Yeah.
phenomenal. All right. Any other last comments about Peacemaker, Dee Bartee?
Nope.
Let's talk about the show that you loved. Marvel's Hawkeye on Disney Plus. Of course, it tells the story of Clint Barton as he meets Kate Bishop, who has been idolizing him since she was a little girl because he saved her life from the Chitauri invasion, and she has modeled her entire life and career after him and become, as she repeatedly tells us, some people say I'm the best archer in the world. And throughout the series, we meet some other ancillary characters, but my favorite relationship in this show was between Yelena, the White Widow, and Kate Bishop, Hawkeye. And this scene, ladies, was my favorite scene of the entire show, I think.
Was also my favorite.
It was brilliant. And the chemistry that they had together was it was unreal.
Stop making me like you.
I know. And she was speaking for the audience because she was so dang likable, even though she was there to kill Clint Barton. And after I watched this series, did anybody else have to go back and watch the Black Widow movie?
Yep.
Did it, in your opinion, make Black Widow a better movie?
It did, actually. It really did. Because when I watched Black Widow my third time, my husband's first time, the whole time I'm going, I feel like it's really important to know for the backstory. They're trying to like develop even more for Natasha from before she was dead. Was Yelena gone in the blip or not? And this answers that very clearly. And I'm like, okay, so a lot of people feel like Natasha was fridged. And I didn't feel like that even in the Avengers, but I understand why some people did. But it makes even more sense. She's like, we have to bring everybody back. That one of the people she wants to bring back, one of the reasons she wants to make sacrifice is to bring her sister back. Like,
yeah, and the final scene with Yelena and Val lines up, you know, where Hawkeye takes place right after that, because she's obviously hired by the Kingpin. Val hires, or not the Kingpin, by Bishop's mom, hires Val to send one of her Thunderbolt contract killers, yes, I said the word, to kill Hawkeye. And I just thought this series made Black Widow a better movie. But Dee Bartee, I want to know what it was that you loved about this Hawkeye series.
Okay, first of all, I haven't seen Black Widow.
you should.
Spoiler alert.
Really good. I mean, I do feel that this made it better, but like,
I mean, no spoilers. I'm not worried about that. I'm just saying, like, I just still haven't seen.
Well, now that you loved Hawkeye, go watch Black Widow.
Yeah,
because there are some things that they talk about in the Hawkeye series that you don't really understand unless you see the Black Widow movie and see Avengers Endgame.
Well, I saw Endgame, so I knew yeah, her falling off the cliff or sacrificing. Like, I knew all that. So here's the thing. Like, I'm not a huge Avengers fan. Like, I like Avengers, but I'm not a huge Avengers. I'm more like Superman, and I like X-Men. And so for me to actually sit down and watch Hawkeye was a pretty big deal, because I was like, yeah, it's another Avenger, you know. And I loved it. And I don't know, I can kind of relate to, and you're going to laugh. You're so going to laugh. But I've always had this secret desire to be a ninja. And so, yeah, even as a kid, I was like, I want to be a ninja. And so like watching her with her archery, and I'm like, I could do that. Not really, but I'm like, I don't know. It just sparked something in me, and the way that the chemistry of all the characters, and I mean, it was clean as far as not like Peacemaker. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the storyline. It kept my attention. I could understand it.
For those of you who haven't watched our show before, that's a big thing for Dee Bartee.
I can remember some of the characters' names.
Now, so I know that you watched it probably with Brian.
Yeah. Well, he's the one that started watching it, and I was like, ooh, what is this? And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm secretly in love. Don't tell anybody.
That's funny. Wait, secretly in love with Jeremy Renner or Haley Stanfield?
I think both.
That makes sense. But so you're watching it with Brian, and I know Brian's probably explaining, well, that's the swordsman, and he starts out as a villain, and he was originally Hawkeye's teacher in the carnival, and yada, yada, yada. But did he have a complete come apart, a geekgasm when Kingpin showed up? Was he like, oh!
No, he was laughing because he's like, hey, that's your guy from Law and Order. And I'm like, yeah.
I had a complete come apart when not only was Kingpin becoming part of the story, and I was just like, oh, they're gonna go there. Oh, they're gonna go there. And then it was Vincent D'Onofrio, and I was like, yes! I am a huge Daredevil and Elektra fan, and I really liked the Netflix Daredevil adaptation. And like, I mean, I was really disappointed that I didn't like what was the show where they all come together? Defenders? I don't know. It was so generic. The whole thing was so generic. I can't even remember the name because that was
the Defenders.
That's where they culminated Elektra's story. And I'm like, oh, I feel like they did my girl dirty. So like, I did. I completely came apart. I was freaking out.
So Dee Bartee, did you watch Daredevil on Netflix? Which, by the way, it's no longer on Netflix. It's now, as of March 22nd, on Disney Plus.
That's such a confusing branding move.
No, the only Daredevil I've seen is the one with Ben Affleck.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
No.
Dee Bartee.
Everybody
oh my God. We've got to help you.
It.
I liked it when I was a kid, but now that I know anything about the comics, I'm just like, no.
Well, see, I don't know anything about it. So that's where that's probably why I liked it. And that's probably why I like a lot of things, because I don't know anything about the comics. And so I just like watch the movies and I'm like, hey.
Well, Marvel has done a really good job since they took control of their properties. They've done a really good job of staying true to the spirit of the source material. Even though they have to adapt it to work for the screen, you still get the feeling and the sense of the spirit and the loyalty to the spirit of the source material. And they do a really great job. You need to go watch that Daredevil series. Now, Kelly says, thanks for mentioning that, Crayle. I love Justin. And Drew says, he's
having an argument about, not an argument, but
the Killing Joke. Yeah, they're having their own conversation about the Killing Joke in the comments. But Drew says about Hawkeye, hated it and then loved it. Thanks for putting me onto it, Johnny. So I was undecided after the second episode because they aired both the first two episodes together, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, I'm not in love with this, but I'm going to keep watching it because I am a Marvel shill and I am an Avengers Freakosaurus, and it's what you do. And so as the series went on, and as Kate Bishop stopped making so many stupid mistakes, I started to like her, and by the end, I was like, okay, she is
See, I
worthy
can
to
relate
take the
to that
mantle
because I make
of
a lot
Hawkeye.
of stupid mistakes.
I knew I was gonna love Kate Bishop, even though the first episode, her arrogance was a little annoying. Because I forget who said it. It might have been Kelly. Somebody told me that Kate Bishop was a lot like Courtney, like Stargirl Courtney. And so I knew I was gonna love it because Stargirl's one of my absolute favorites. So like, and so personality wise, they don't have the exact same personality, but one of their traits that drives their heroism is they have a youthful lack of sensible fear. Like sometimes it's smart to be scared, and these two girls just like they're fear stupid, right?
Well, so that's interesting because I've got to be honest. I've not read the Matt Fraction Hawkeye series. My introduction to Kate Bishop was through the Young Avengers and the Young Avengers series and West Coast Avengers. And in the Young Avengers, she is not that fear stupid character. She's very much a competent leader, and everyone looks to her to have the to make the right decisions and to have the right info. And
It
so
must have been frustrating then to sit through while she found her footing.
yes, yeah, it was very frustrating. But eventually that character in those, what was it? Was it 6 or 8 episodes? 6 episodes. Through those 6 episodes, she grew out of that. And by the final episode, she was the character that I was waiting for her to become. And I ended up loving it. Drew also says Marvel is so good at making us like side characters and become personally invested.
That's
Yeah.
so true. The I'm Mary Poppins y'all guy from Guardians of the Galaxy 2, like at the beginning of that movie, you do not expect to have the feels about him by the end. Like
Drew says he's proud of you, Dee.
Me? For what? Thank you.
I don't know. Drew, why are you proud of Dee? And then he added, best part when Kingpin started throwing them hands. So he says of Kate Bishop that she is the Robin Dick Grayson of Marvel Comics. I can see that comparison. I don't know if I agree though.
I can see that comparison personality and skill wise, but as far as like placement,
that was really Bucky Barnes.
Teams.
Bucky Barnes was Marvel's answer to Dick Grayson.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Kingpin throwing them hands, I was actually a little disappointed by that. David and I were like, hold on, in the Netflix show, like he could rip a car door off of its hinges and get hit by like cars and stuff, but now it's like boom, broken glass, and he's like falling over. And so I feel like he was watered down some in his physical strength.
See, that's interesting because most fans thought he was amped up. And at first that was my feeling, that he had been, because he gets hit by a car and thrown through the wall. And he just gets up and comes back for more. And I was feeling like he had been powered up a little bit, but then someone reminded me, no, go back and watch the Daredevil series and see how he manhandles Daredevil. Mm-hmm. And that was absolutely, yes. He got shot in Daredevil like 3 or 4 times and just kind of shrugged it off. Oh, look, there's a little bullet in my chest. But Dee Bartee has no idea what we're talking about. She needs to watch the Daredevil Netflix series. You might actually like it.
I'm not going to be doing anything but watching TV for the next week.
Well, that's not a bad thing.
Call it research. You know me,
Yeah.
I can't sit still. I
Now-
can't even sit still for this show.
Me
Now,
either.
Dee
I'm like,
Bartee,
let me sit on this leg. Now let me sit on that.
Before we went live, you made a comment about the clever ending where they didn't reveal her code name, and you thought it was going to be.
No, I'm not. I told you I didn't want to talk about that on air because I felt stupid.
It makes sense why you thought that, though. Like, I don't know that much back lore like Johnny does. And as you were talking about it, I was like, oh, is that where they're going with that? Until Johnny reminded me how it actually goes. Don't feel stupid, Dee.
So for the rest of the audience, Dee Bartee thought that Kate Bishop's code name was going to be Mockingbird. She did not realize that she was taking over the mantle and title of Hawkeye. She is the new Hawkeye. And so I guess I can see where you thought that. But we did meet the MCU's Mockingbird because you thought that that was going to be her code name. And that's what the whole thing with the watch was about. A lot of fans didn't understand the whole thing with the watch, why it was important. And even after she turned it over, Laura Barton turns over the watch and it has the shield emblem and the number 19. Even hardcore fans didn't realize what that was all about. That watch revealed that she was Agent 19, and in the comic books, Agent 19 becomes Mockingbird, and Hawkeye and Mockingbird get married and form the West Coast Avengers. So that watch was all about protecting her identity to protect their kids, their family. And I think it actually even goes deeper, though. I have a feeling that the MCU version of Mockingbird is not just a person, but a title like Black Widow. And I think the Mockingbird program, this is my headcanon, was S.H.I.E.L.D's answer to the Black Widow Red Room program. And that Laura Barton is one of the Mockingbirds, along with Barbara Morse from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And that probably that watch is more than just a watch. There's probably some kind of microchip in there that, you plug it into the right source and you get the entire database of all of the Mockingbirds all over the country, wherever they are and where they're active and all of that fun stuff. That's me extrapolating that. But Dee, you didn't get any of that from that simple little turn of the watch.
Nope.
I mean, it was a small detail, though. Like, I didn't get all of that. I was just like, oh, Mockingbird, something familiar.
And I knew they were going to put stuff in there that I had no idea about because, I don't catch on to a lot of it because I don't read the comics and I like the Avengers movies, but they don't stick. I don't retain the information.
Well, I'm an Avengers Freakosaurus. It's oxygen to me, so...
I retain a lot of information from like X-Men. Like we were watching that the other day and my daughter was asking me a lot of questions and I was like, and I was proud of myself.
Now, I'm really excited about this character from Hawkeye. This is Maya Lopez,
Yeah.
Echo. She will go on to become a member of the Avengers if they follow any comic book canon at all. And eventually, she becomes the Phoenix. In comics currently, Maya Lopez, Echo, is the new Phoenix. And pretty amazing character arc for her. The next thing for her is she will become probably opening up the Echo series that is coming out next year. She will probably take up the mantle of Ronin because that's what she did in the comics. She became the new Ronin. and ended up joining the new Avengers, and then anyway, now she's the Phoenix. I'm excited about that. Crayle?
Oh yeah, I'm excited about that too. Like, I haven't read the comics of that plot yet, and I just keep not getting to it. So if a TV show can give me like this plot that I've been wanting to read forever, maybe that will be the nudge I need to actually read those comics, because I've been looking forward to it for a while.
Yeah, awesome. So, this is funny. So, talking about Agent 19 and the Watch, Andrew Milden says, I was today's years old when I knew that too. You're welcome. And have you talked about Young Justice yet? You know what?
We don't have time.
Can I make a confession? I've never watched Young Justice.
Johnny.
I know. Well,
How
when it was
cute.
on originally, we didn't have Cartoon Network. We didn't have cable. And so I never got invested into it. And so when it came back, I wasn't all excited about it. It's on my list along with Titans and Doom Patrol. But you know what? I'm a Marvel shill first. So I'm going to see Moon Knight before I see Batman, because I love Moon Knight that much. One of my all-time favorite characters. And I don't really care anything about Batman. So
I'm exhausted of Batman.
Okay, look. All right, look.
I'm
I
sick
got
of
something to say.
Batman.
go ahead,
What?
Dee.
Robert Pattinson is Batman. So y'all know I was a huge Twilight fan, right? Like, I
I do
actually
not.
read
I'm
those
sorry.
books. Shut up. I read
I'm not
those
going to hold
books.
that against you.
I watched those
Ooh,
movies.
Johnny.
I did the thing. I'm scared.
Well, the early reviews are really good. And look,
I know,
Zoe
but I'm scared.
Kravitz is playing Catwoman. That's all I need.
Mhm.
I just want to see
True.
her.
True.
Yeah. Any
yeah,
last
good
thoughts about
Batman.
Hawkeye from either of you, Dee or Crayle?
I
Those are my
like
last
the conversation between Hawkeye and Echo about how a hearing aid might actually be a handicap. That's a conversation you see a lot in the deaf and hearing loss community.
Mhm.
I'm on the most teeniest bit outside fringe of the deaf and hearing loss community, because I got hearing loss when I was 17, and I have been lazy and I haven't learned ASL, and I don't even have a hearing aid or anything, but I see a lot of stuff. And from what I can see, that was one of those conversations that hopefully anybody else who knows anybody who has like severe hearing loss, or anyone who became deaf or was born deaf, like, that's a whole big conversations about hearing aids are really important. So if that piqued your interest, go do some research. Like, it's a really interesting topic.
That is a very interesting point. And the one thing I was disappointed in with the way they treated Maya Lopez, in the comics, she hears the same way that Daredevil sees, through vibrations in the air. And she can feel vibrations and whatnot. And obviously she can read lips. But here's where they failed with her. She has a superpower, and her superpower is photographic reflexes, like the Taskmaster. And if she sees something performed once, a fighting style, she can imitate it, mimic it, move for move. And they didn't go into either of those aspects of her in this series. I hope they do in her solo series.
I mean, I'm not surprised they didn't do the Taskmaster similarity one, because they've just introduced people who aren't really big in the comics to Taskmaster, so maybe it would feel like the same thing. But the equivalent to Daredevil, where she hears the way that he sees, would have been really cool. Like, that is a little disappointing.
Well, they're going to get into that in her series, because Daredevil will be a character in that series. She's so closely linked to him in the comics. They had to do that. So good stuff. Well, I could talk about this stuff all night long. We've already been here an hour, and I promise Crayle, before we leave, Crayle, you have an awesome project that we want to talk about. And do you want to go through these photos, or do you want
I'll
me to
go
click through them?
I'll go through them.
Okay.
Because I didn't label them right for another person to click through.
Okay.
All right.
So tell us about Pokeballs.
So one of my businesses is called Pokeballs by Crayle. That's what it's called on Facebook and Instagram. And I make products that look like this. And one of the reasons I was so excited to talk about it tonight, bugging Johnny about it, is I finally have something in inventory that I've never been able to keep in inventory. And that is, so this is the size of one of my standard Pokeballs. Here's little Squirtle, right? I finally was able to keep on hand for more than one day one of my giant Pokeballs. It's like the size of my head here. And with glare and video cams and stuff, it's hard to see the inside. So I have some photos uploaded, but I finally have a giant one. So if you want this giant Four Seasons Pikachu Pokeball that looks like this, send me a message on Instagram or Facebook at Pokeballs by Crayle. This was so much fun to make. My favorite of all of these is Summer, where Pikachu's angry that his hot dog is off in the ocean. That started as a whole inside joke. So if you want to know what the inside joke is about the ocean stealing any Pokemon's hot dog, send me a message on Instagram or Facebook. So,
But here's the great thing. If people come to Memphis and Mid-South Con, you're going to have Pokeballs there.
I am, yes.
And everywhere that Back of the Cereal Box is conventioning and tabling this year, we will have Pokeballs with us. So you need to just come by just to get those. I mean, come by and see Dee Bartee's beautiful face and hair. But you know, there's another reason. Come see, come get some Pokeballs. Because we know you're not coming to see me.
That's not true. You put the fishnets on for Johnny Quinn. People are swinging by to see you. You have nice legs, Johnny.
This is true. Yep. Did they fail the city, Johnny? Who? I know that's a reference to what?
To Arrow. You have failed this city.
See, I didn't watch Arrow either. I watched the first episode, and it did not grab me. And I never watched it.
Okay, wrap this up. I gotta go to bed. I'm tired.
All right. So tell us one more time, Crayle, where they can get Pokeballs.
So on Facebook or Instagram, Pokeballs by Crayle. Crayle, like my name, is spelled down there on the screen in my little face square. You can message me there, or if you message my personal account, Crayle Vanest, I do sales through there too. I don't have a website or anything because I don't like paying hosting fees and stuff. I like to keep my my cost of my product lower. And so, I mean, you'll have to talk to me to get my product. Oh no, you have to talk to Crayle. Facebook or Instagram, Pokeballs by Crayle.
That's awesome. Well, before we leave, I got to just say one last thing. If you like our show, we've had the banner running down below. You can support us at buymeacoffee.com/cerealboxpod. If you hate our shows, donate even more generously so that we can make improvements just for you. And that actually happened, didn't it, Dee? We had a fan, Dave Mattingly, provide the funding to get you a real deal microphone. That's fantastic.
And it's beautiful.
It really is. And it sounds great when you get close to it. We've got to get you closer, though.
But then you see, like, this is.
I know.
Nobody
we
wants to see that.
We just need to get you a table closer to, yeah.
Hello.
Or hold it.
For an hour.
Sure. Anyway, speaking of Dave Mattingly, we want to thank him. He's one of our supporters, along with Cindy Kep and Crystal Raven Jones. you can become a supporter too. Be a champion of the Back of the Cereal Box at buymeacoffee.com/cerealboxpod. And if you're looking for one of the best gifts on the planet, check out Unidragon Puzzles, unidragon.com, promo code cerealboxpodcast to take 10% off. And ladies, I appreciate you guys being here so much and participating. And Dee Bartee, I'm so proud of you that you watched not just one, but two recent popular superhero comic book TV shows. There's hope for you yet.
I'm like, what else did I watch? Peacemaker, duh.
The ones we're doing this episode on.
Yeah.
Go to bed, Dee. You're tired.
So
I
with
have
that,
a confession, I would have never watched either one of them if my husband hadn't started it. But I did, and I fell in love with one of them. So
I mean, I wouldn't have seen any of the Clone Wars series if my husband hadn't gotten me into them. You know, sometimes
oh my gosh,
you need your loved ones to give you a push.
watching Mandalorian, this man is like, and I'm like, I'm lost.
About the Clone Wars.
Don't even like. I can focus on this, but all this other I'm like, you need to talk to John because y'all are. I mean,
We'll introduce my husband to your husband. It's good.
yeah.
all right. So we're gonna sign off here, but I'm gonna leave our viewers with one last video for comic books for kids. But Crayle, Dee Bartee, thank you guys so much for being with us. All of you in the viewing audience, thank you. If you like the podcast, if you like our shows, share them with 200-300 of your closest friends and family. Ask them to come join the fun. And until the next time, we'll catch you on the flip side.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.